All right, thanks for staying with us. You listen to Planet Green Trees. Call numbers 1-347-326-9626. And I believe we have one, if not a couple of our next guests coming up. I'm going to get them on the air right now. We got our very good friend, Robin Schneider. And for those of you that don't know, Robin had a medical situation, landed in the hospital, and she's back at it. She's already back at it and ready to rock and roll. And it just shows maybe her intensity and will in this battle. But Robin, welcome back to the show. How are you feeling?
Thank you, Michael. I'm feeling much better.
Wow.
I am. I did. I had a stroke over the weekend. About 6 days ago. I was driving on the highway and I had a stroke, and I luckily pulled over in time, and I was on the phone with my best friend Charmy Golson, who screamed at me, "You're having a stroke, call 911." And luckily within 15 minutes I was inside of a MRI machine, and they were giving me life-saving medication. So I did lose the whole right side of my body, and now I'm doing physical therapy. I had a blockage in the left cerebral artery of my brain. And luckily I was able to get help quick enough, and we think that I will make a full recovery.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you don't sound like someone that had a stroke 6 days ago. You got your normal Robin giggle. You're in great. I mean, really, that's fantastic. And I'm glad to hear the positive side of it. But that's a journey that, wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And, I'm just grateful to be alive today.
Understood. It's really a lesson. It's like we got every moment counts. Every minute.
That's a weird definition of interesting, Robin. It was more than that. That's a pretty intense experience.
Well, I'm happy to be back to work. I really am. And, I've had a lot of people tell me to make sure that you rest and, rest. And my physical therapists are saying, oh, no, you don't get to rest. You get to work hard to get back to you have a window of time after a stroke to regain all of your mobility. And so it's really important to keep stimulating my brain and moving. So I'm just kind of jumping right back into things and looking forward to our event this weekend.
Fantastic. I know there's a lot of us out there that have a lot of anticipation for this. It was so fantastic last time, as I mentioned earlier, so it'll be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And also on the line, I think we have Hunter Holliman. Is that correct? Hunter, are you on the line?
We're going to get Hunter on right now. I wanted to ask Robin a couple of questions. I know Robin is also speaking this weekend involved with the Robin, of course, is the I don't know what the exact title is, but you're working with the NPRA, who is National Patient Rights Association. We also now have on the phone Hunter Holliman. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. You, of course, also are involved, I understand, with this weekend's event. And I want to talk to you, Hunter. I know you experienced the congressional hearings regarding the discussions of marijuana at the state level. But let's talk for a second, Robin. Tell us about what your view is on this bill and what kind of responses it's getting. And what's the story with the grow attached to it right now? Is that something that's being discussed? Do you see that not being fair out? I mean, before, I don't know if you heard the conversation, we were talking about just how it makes it more regulated. It's easier to manage as opposed to having the caregivers grow. And, of course, this is going to be an ongoing dispute. But where do you see that going?
House Bill 4271? You're talking about, right? My belief is that, they're making some changes to it right now, and we'll probably see a draft back in the next few weeks, I hope. And I'm looking forward to a vote. I believe cultivation is coming out. I've been told repeatedly it was, kind of left in there on accident, and that they removed the cultivation centers from the bill, but accidentally left the word cultivation in the definitions, and that was not the intent. So, that's being fix. I mean, every time you have something come out of drafting, it seems, then you say, oh, well, we missed that. We'll have to fix it later, and that's really what happened in that situation. There's some other issues being worked on, like it says, the state can't come into a facility, the municipalities can. Well, we need the state fire inspectors to come in. So there's some little things like that are being ironed out right now, and I'm pretty confident that when it comes back, it'll be something that's, that we can live with.
I mean, this is ultimately the, one of the challenges, I think, and it's different people are going to have different views on it. And, I don't know if you heard the conversation earlier, but, there's a national trend to move to a more regulatory system, and in doing so, there's certain fundamental things that are going to need to be done or looked at it in terms of regulating, and, inspections come to mind, and then the federal government recently had some kind of, and I don't think it's anything different, but, they kind of put the bar rather high. I wonder if even there is something that could be written that would satisfy the bar the way they wrote it. But, in moving just from a lobbyist, lobbying and discussing with legislatures, do you feel that is in fact the pull, versus who's going to be controlling?
I don't, and I'll tell you why. I don't. Originally this bill had larger cultivation facilities in it, and the intent there was to have larger grows. Now, the law enforcement was very uncomfortable with that in Michigan, and regardless of what they want to do on a national level, if Michigan law enforcement is not comfortable with large-scale grows, then I'm pretty sure we're not going to have them. And so I don't believe that's going to be a factor. I do think that we may see, an emphasis on testing for some sort of screening process for mold and toxins if the medicine is being distributed through a provisioning center. That is something that, may end up being more mandatory, not for the caregivers, but for the regulated provisioning centers.
Yeah, interesting. Is there, in the long run, do you think that, this is the question. I maintain that one of the troubles of implementation thus far has been this divide between the law enforcement community and the caregiver community. It's been a little bit of a difficult. There was no education. Law was passed. There was no sit down and let's rewire your brains by watching this video or this video. Nothing really happened, and then the Attorney General was adverse, and that kind of set the tone in a very negative direction. I feel like there needs to be a sit down and joining. And I think this is the constant battle of how to make it so that these two communities are, not adverse to one another. And I will say that there are positive stories from out the state. A lot of the local police officers have changed their views, the county sheriffs, and there's still the, narcotics units that are kind of keyed up on this. But, how is there going to be a point? I mean, is this thing that, the 42 seconds, is it something that's going to really, now that there's going to be a financial opportunity and ways to kind of direct more regulation of some kind, is this the kind of thing, if it comes from the legislature, you think that's going to, really tell those opposers that it's here to stay and they better start looking for other types of activity, to arrest upon?
Are you asking me if you think that we're going to overregulate?
No, I'm saying, do you think that when and if a dispensary bill happens, that's going to be the, one of the significant factors that makes law enforcement look at this less as criminal activity? That when the legislature actually introduced...
I do. I think that once, we have a solid law backing distribution, I think it's going to make it a little more difficult for them justifying targeting us, because it's going to be something that they're going to start to accept. Right now, I feel like they're targeting more the caregivers. And I think that if we have a very solid distribution system, I think that the law enforcement will back off a little bit.
Well, that I think is going to be the key, won't it? Because if, the concern, I think, just generally is that they're going to have to look somewhere, and the question, are they going to go to other types of activities that are unrelated to medical cannabis, or are they going to be more scrutinized? You never know. But I'm saying, without question, whatever it is, it needs to be something that brings some continuity between these different communities. I think there's not been enough. I would say it was nice reading about and watching the new conditions panel because it was for the first time that the politics was really out of it. That you saw like the so-called quasi-governmental agencies as the panel acted and voted as being very positive. They took their task as a public health issue. I'm not seeing that yet, and still yet from the law enforcement community. I see that so I agree with you. I think that to some extent, the more legislation, whatever it may be, is a
well. I mean, ultimately on cultivation, I would like to see it more of a fine system than a criminal penalty at some point in the state. Right now, if you're 2 plants over, they can take your whole grow and charge you with manufacturing. I would much rather see, you had 2 extra plants, you made a mistake, maybe you miscounted. Here's a $100 fine, don't do it again, you do it 3 times. Something like that is just so much more reasonable than, literally facing jail time for everything. And, we want to legitimize this, and I'm not really thrilled with the way that this is being looked at by law enforcement as everybody's a criminal.
I understand it. It's very challenging. I mean, you can see the line kind of in the sand. I wonder if there's a way to avoid the concept of inspections, and if not, if there was ever going to be an inspection, it'd have to be it'd be nice if there was some rules of disclosure, the same kind of privacy, right. And or maybe even a separate type of agency. It doesn't have to be law enforcement. It could be public health code. Members of the cannabis community, medical cannabis community. Like a quasi, and funded by the program, right? I mean, got $3 million. If they're going to do it, they should set something up that's actually, worthwhile. That can answer the federal government's question of how do we know that there's not some illegal activity going on there, and then you've got a regulated, I think
the federal government really focused mostly on regulated distribution, though. I think that was a big emphasis of their focus was more the distribution part. I think that the first step here in Michigan is working out a distribution plan, and then from there we need to look at what can we do to protect the cultivators.
Well, my point is that if you have people that are making money and able to grow cannabis to sell to a dispensary, the question that they want to know is how do we know that they're not growing more than they're allowed and selling out the back door? That's the bigger question. Whoever's growing it, how do you ensure that, unequivocally the federal government would say that this is not going to cartels? Because I think. Well,
I think once we have regulated legal dispensaries, I think that we're going to see a lot less medicine going out the back door because they would have a more legal means to distribute it. And
I'm not suggesting that that's taking place. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the speculation of the federal government that you've got to show us that. We know exactly where it's all going kind of mentality. That seems to be the challenge of that memo to me. They want to see and know that there is a control on this that,
like Colorado just put in, as I discussed in the news, right?
Right. And I'm not suggesting the Colorado memo. I mean, I'm saying you want to be able to generate that kind of certainty with the existing caregiver system, which I think is going to be the challenge. But that may be for another day. Robin, you are inspiring because of your giggle and your outstanding outlook on things, and I want to thank you for all the hard work that you do and coming on Planet Green Trees, and I wish you well this weekend and the fundraiser at the Ann Arbor Arts Center Saturday evening. Who's going to be there with you? Tell the listeners.
Okay, well, speaking at the event will be State Rep Mike Colton, sponsor of House Bill 4271, State Representative Jeff Irwin, who we just heard, our lobbyists, our super wonderful lobbyists, Kevin McKinney, myself, I'm the legislative liaison, Drew Driver, who is a member of the board of directors. And I'm very excited because we're going to be joined by many different organizations, and I'm thrilled that all of these people have contacted us and said, we want to come out, we support what you guys are doing, we want to be a part of this, and it's been very humbling to be contacted by so many different advocacy groups who want to participate in what we're doing. And so I said, absolutely, everyone come. And so we have Steph Shear from Americans for Safe Access, Teresa Daniello from Patients at a Time, Matt Abel, Director of My Normal, Heidi Parika of My Compassion, Rebecca Brown of Pediatric Cannabis Therapy, We also have the Dr. Malamede coming from California. They called this morning and said, hey, we want to come. So it's been really exciting. And, Michael, we hope you'll join us as well.
I look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks again for coming on the show. Good luck this weekend. Say goodbye, everyone, to Robin Schneider.
Thank you. Bye-bye.